Good evening and many thanks for making a date with us for the next 20 odd minutes on Primetime News here in Eros Windhoek. I'm Michael Madimba. We commence with activities from the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. While addressing the UN August House on Wednesday, Head of State Dr. Hage Geingob hinted that there is real possibility that the next SWAPO party candidate for the national presidential election will be a woman or a young male. More on our lead story produced by George Hendricks.
The ruling party SWAPO, of which I am the head, is currently conducting primaries. There is a real possibility that the next candidate of the SWAPO party for the national presidential elections will be a woman or a young male, of whom the male is from the generation that was never in exile. The presence of women in the line of succession is a demonstration of the strides we have made in gender equality, with women representation at 40% in the National Assembly. Moreover, 90% of our banks are helmed by women.
Still at the UN General Assembly, Head of State Dr. Hage Geingob continued to reiterate his call for the inclusion of Africa as part of the United Nations Security Council. Geingob also stressed that Namibia pledges unwavering solidarity for nations that continue to bear the heavy burden of sanctions. Once again, George Hendricks' father story.
Namibia reiterates its long-standing call for the lifting of the unjust embargo against Cuba. I met a 50-year-old young Cuban man who has not known anything but the sanctions. Since he was born, it's the sanctions. How long are we going to continue with that? We are talking about building the peace in the world. But how can a country be sanctioned for such a long time? And children born don't know anything but sanctions. Please, it is time that sons and daughters of Cuba are given their right to a decent life, freedom, and embargo that denies them their right to develop their own country should be stopped now. Equally, we call on the lifting of sanctions against the Republic of Zimbabwe. Why are the sanctions in place for a country which is making progress at all levels? President Emmerson Mnangagwa and the people of Zimbabwe have made laudable progress and reforms. We should be given a chance to succeed without the weight of sanctions.
Now, are water services affordable to Namibian citizens? Not according to Popular Democratic Movement Member of Parliament Alma Dienda, who on Tuesday supported a motion tabled in the National Assembly to have all water debt owed by all local authorities in the country be written off by NamWater. Have a listen to the rest of her contribution.
Can we afford water these days, honorable members? Just look at your water bill on consumption. It is a joke. It is really a joke. We cannot even wash ourselves properly these days. Because the moment then you put the bath full of water, you must know there will be a 200 extra. So can we afford water in Namibia, the basic, which is saying water is life?
Switching attention onto the international front, Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky demanded Wednesday that the world punish Russia in a dramatic video address to the United Nations General Assembly, where US President Joe Biden accused Moscow of violating basic international norms. Laying out what he called as conditions for peace, Zelensky, the sole leader allowed to address the summit virtually, called 15 times for punishment of Russia of its invasion. Let's listen in.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine, and we demand just punishment. The crime was committed against our state borders. The crime was committed against the lives of our people. The crime was committed against the dignity of our women and men. The crime was committed against the values that make you and me a community of the United Nations. And Ukraine demands punishment for trying to steal our territory, punishment for the murders of thousands of people, punishment for tortures and humiliations of women and men, punishment for the catastrophic turbulence that Russia provoked with its illegal war, and not only for us, Ukrainians, but for the whole world.
When we return, Minister of Works and Transport John Motoro lashes out at Transnamib employees. Welcome to Primetime Biz. Leading tonight's segment, Minister of Works and Transport John Motoro has lashed out at Transnamib employees, saying there is a need for the parastatal to implement strategic policy collectively aimed at improving the country's railway sector. Let's get the gist of the story.
Speaking at a workshop on the Railway Institutional Set Review in the capital on Wednesday, Motoro fumed that there are some employees abusing public properties, offices and resources for their own individual benefit, which derails the broad vision of the railway transportation services. Motoro also stressed his dissatisfaction with the rail network, saying the parastatal owe it to the Namibians with expectations to be offered public rail services, having contributed with their taxes and workforce to the establishment of the rail network. He added that the limited budget is often referred to as the contributor to the current failed railway sector in the country. However, he stressed that presently the parastatal has nothing to present to what it has done with the limited budget to even convince the government for a desired funding to reform the sector.
Moving on. Climate groups on Wednesday called for the World Bank's president, David Malpass, to be removed after he refused multiple times to state if he believed man-made emissions contributed to global warming. Here's the rest of the report.
The chorus against Malpass grew louder after his appearance Tuesday at a New York Times conference on climate finance. Asked by a journalist to respond to former U.S. Vice President Al Gore's claim that he was a climate denier, Malpass said that some of his critics may not know what the World Bank is doing. He boasted that its climate funding is by far the biggest among international financial institutions. After another attempt failed to get a straight answer, the journalist David Gillis said, "Let me just be as clear as I can. Do you accept the scientific consensus that the man-made burning of fossil fuels is rapidly and dangerously warming the planet?" Malpass again pointed to the World Bank's work on the issue, at which multiple people in the audience shouted, "Answer the question." "I don't know, I'm not a scientist," responded a clearly frustrated Malpass. The Big Shift, a consortium of climate groups, called Wednesday for the World Bank's board to remove Malpass over the comments. For the World Bank to maintain any shred of decency, Malpass cannot remain as president, said Tasneem Essop, executive director of the Climate Action Network, a Big Shift member group. A separate group of activist organizations said they would on Thursday unveil a banner at the World Bank's headquarters in Washington that reads, "The World Bank Group is run by a climate denier." Malpass's term ends in 2024 and he can only be removed by a vote of the World Bank's board.
Stay tuned for the economics roundup followed by the weather forecast. Welcome to the world of Sport Planet. We commence with the young warriors currently in Angola. Senior national football team and young warriors coach Colin Benjamin says inexperience and lack of match fitness played a role in the young warriors' defeat to Angola on Wednesday. In an interview shared by the NFA with the media after the match, the gaffer said they found it hard to settle in the match against an Angolan outfit that was a technically good team.
We start from the boys. We couldn't really settle in. The Angolans, very good team technically, so that they, through that technicality, they could actually overpower us tactically. But I still think that we had a chance, especially us going into the lead. But then I would say, obviously, the match fitness came into place where it was a bit of a disadvantage for us. I think our goalkeeper Roy did well. Unfortunate that second goal couldn't come in, but it's definitely only a matter of experience. You know, you can obviously see that the match fitness gives them the edge. But nonetheless, we'll go to this famous drawbot and see what it is that we did wrong, analyze that, and try and better it in the next game.
On to cricket. Vice President Nangolo Mbumba says sport plays a vital role in the socio-economic development of any nation by not only enabling athletes to be physically fit and financially stable, but also to be ambassadors of their countries. Mbumba was speaking at State House in Windhoek on Wednesday, where he welcomed the T20 cricket trophy, which is touring 14 countries worldwide, before the start of this year's World Cup finals in Australia next month. Kindly stand by for your sports roundup. With the sports news, we've come to the end of the Thursday installment of Primetime News. Much appreciated for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do. Like, share and press the notifications bell to stay posted on the latest happenings locally and globally. Catch us again tomorrow for the week's last edition of Primetime News. From myself, Michael Madimba, and the entire crew behind the scenes, it's good night.